Yes, so we have already launched the recording since now, and I will quickly introduce you to the agenda. Jenny Lazebnik from Wageningen Environmental Research is going to present you with the hackathon and the challenge. You will hear from her also about the presentation of the teams and the composition of the teams. We will then say a few words about the judges who are going to judge your performance. We will also tell you about the mentors and the logistics, so you could easily navigate throughout the 2 days. And finally, we'll have a section dedicated to access to data and explanations on how you could access this data during the hackathon. Finally, we will have questions and answer sessions where you can pose your questions, and we will wrap up with some conclusions. So without further ado, I will pass the word to Jenny Lazebnik from Wageningen Environmental Research. Please, Jenny, unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Hi, thanks a lot.
Hi, thank you.
So I just want to put my screen on just 1 minute. Sorry. So I'll make it bigger. So if I go in presentation mode, it also shuts down this side of the screen. 1 minute.
Sure.
Share. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so before we get into talking about the data and what we're going to make available during the hackathon, I thought it would be nice to give a bit of background, a bit of context in why we're doing this hackathon. And so we'll start with just talking about the project a little bit. Can you still see the screen? The correct side?
We can see the project behind the hackathon slide, but yeah, it's a bit empty for the time being.
Okay, 1 minute. Somehow it's here we go.
Yes.
There we go. So basically this whole hackathon is part of a larger project called Multiple Biodiversity Stressors on Land and Sea, and we shortened that to MOLAS. And it's a collaboration between Wageningen Marine, Environmental, Economic, and Food-Based Research Institutes. And this is part of a KB program for Nature Inclusive Society, and it's supported by the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality. So it's a project where we're going to be looking at 3 different case study areas, and I think you probably read about that on the website of the hackathon. And those are the North Sea, the Waddenzee, and the Veluwe. And in this project, we're taking a sort of cyclical approach, whereas the first task we had in the project was to create a conceptual framework, and that's to do with cumulative assessments. So cumulative assessment frameworks are basically putting everything in the picture of what is going on in a particular ecosystem. And in this case, we're showing a picture of how they went about it for the marine environment, but I will get a little bit more into that in the following parts of this webinar. And the second part of our cycle goes to improving the knowledge base and using the data that we have, and that's where the hackathon comes in. So this is the part where we're hoping to get help from all of you. And the third part is putting it all into practice and making a proof of concept for the stakeholders that are going to be using these cumulative assessments. And then we get a review, and then we revise our process and try the cycle again. So in order to do that, okay, I can go to the next slide. Yes, this is an example of for a framework that we created for the terrestrial landscape. So for example, we have the main drivers affecting biodiversity. So we group them into larger larger sections. So land use change, climate change, pollution, invasive species, and exploitation. And then we separate them into different groups. So different kinds of pollution, different kinds of different species of invasives, different types of exploitation. And then we relate each of those stressor groups to particular data sets that we have available. Or in some cases, if there are no data sets available, we have to resort to expert judgment. And each of those have an effect on biodiversity groups. And these are just examples of the UNIS biodiversity groupings, but this could be, again, even subdivided into smaller groups or combined into combinations. So this is basically the framework which we're going on for a terrestrial environment. This is worked out even further. So, for example, we have the stressor groups, which we mentioned in the previous slide. Then we can make that even more specific. So, for example, nitrogen concentration, heavy metal concentration, acidity, blah, blah, blah. So then in invasive plants, we have the plant species that are available. And then we can zoom in into our specific case study areas. So, for example, in the value area. So this is just to give a bit of context of what is the cumulative assessment in, for example, this case, the terrestrial environment. So in order to introduce the challenges, this is a really busy slide, I guess, but you've seen this already. It's on the website. And basically what we would like to get out of the hackathon is that people basically go to town on the data and either try to optimize it in order to get a better way of resampling, get a higher resolution in data sets that are incomplete, improve the data techniques that are being used to collect the data in a stacked way in space, so that we can combine all of these different pressures together. This can be done, with the data itself and then showcased on a map. And then again, mapping, you have within the challenge, you have also different opportunities within mapping to showcase, different distributions or, to highlight monitoring programs. That's actually really, we're leaving it open in order to get the most out of the expertise that you'll bring to the table for your team. And so that's why we also left it open to basically these 3 pillars. And on the sides, you have examples of what could be included in, an innovative way to go about using the data and showcasing them either in 1, 2, or 3 of these pillars of the challenge. So I think that's it for me for now.
Thank you, Jenny. Yes, just a few words about the composition of the teams. If you would like to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, you would like to proceed with the announcement of the teams, so we can show the participants in which teams they are in.
Yeah. So I can carry on with this presentation, I guess. I had it on the right slide.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
The way that we've decided to run the hackathon is actually collect the information about the participants beforehand, in order to get an idea of your talents, and so that we can make balanced teams. And so we managed to get 8 teams together. And so you can find your name on this list. And I guess I can make this a bit bigger as well. Somehow, present mode, yeah. So you can find your name on the list. And I think at the end of this webinar, we can also send each one of the teams an email, a joint email, so that you each know also the emails of your teammates, and you can communicate with them before the start of the hackathon. That's also possible. So this is going to be recorded, and you can always come back to this slide and find the names, or just wait till the end of the hackathon webinar, and then we can email you the names of these people. Look forward to welcoming you all when we see you there.
Thank you, Jenny. We will also ask for your agreement to use your email addresses when we are going to disseminate the composition of the teams. So each team each member of the team will have the access to the emails, so you can liaise with other members. And this will be quite helpful in order to prepare yourself to the hackathon. We would also like to ask you to define or indicate who is going to be the leader of the team, the spokesperson, and also what will be the name of your team. So we would like to ask you to do some homework for this hackathon, so that you can already present your name during the first day of the hackathon, and tell who is the leader who is going to be speaking on behalf of the whole team. So this is something that we would like to cover before I'm going to switch to the next agenda item. We are going to present the judges of this hackathon. Unfortunately, not everyone could participate to this informational webinar, but it will not be the case during the days of the hackathon. And I will share my screen to show you already who is going to judge you during this challenge. We are going to start with Jenne van der Heide, who should be present during this webinar. Jenne is a program director of the strategic programs and war since 2021. And he is also a spatial data enthusiast, and has been chairing the Wageningen modeling group at the IE task force. And he's also trained at a spatial data planner and Roundabout University, and was introduced to the world of spatial data and GIS in the 19th. Jenne, if you are here, could you please unmute your mic and say a few words about yourself?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So you can read my bio on the website, and maybe it's good to know that I am one of the KB program directors, and KB is the knowledge-based programs at WUR, and it's all about future-proofing WUR, future-proofing the organization, the capabilities, and this hackathon fits this future-proofing challenge very well. And what I really like about the hackathon is that it's also about having fun and building new connections. And looking at the 8 teams, I recognize some names from projects I know about, but it's all about building new connections and trigger new ideas. And maybe after the hackathon, you will find each other in projects and your day-to-day work. So I hope to see a lot of enthusiastic faces on the 23rd and 24th. So yeah, that's it. Have fun those 2 days.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenne, for your presentation and for your presence here. It's very much appreciated. And we will move forward with the presentation of the 3 juries, members of the jury. Let me again share the screen. So Kathleen Bienen is an advisor satellite applications at the Netherlands Space Office. She promotes there the use of satellite data, and she does this by starting innovation projects with various governmental organizations and advising various governmental projects in the field of satellite data and creating awareness how satellite data can help them. You can see the bio of Kathleen on the website. So this is the person who will be making part of the jury, and she is currently working on the innovation products about biodiversity at the Netherlands Space Office. The third member of the jury is Annalisa Donati. You can see her picture on the screen. She's currently holding the position of the Secretary General of Eurisy, where we are working, the European Association of Space Agencies, which is striving to bridge the gap between space and society. So she's also be present and available to give her judgments on the work of the teams. And finally, last but not least, of course, Sufyan El-Kinifri, sorry for the pronunciation. He is an environmental engineer. He makes parts of the startup Wageningen, and he is an entrepreneur and is driven by making a positive change. He has recently started a startup that uses satellite data to monitor the state of different regions in the Netherlands and to monitor the biodiversity. So this, you can have a look at these 4 people who are going to be present during the hackathon. And if you have any questions, you can contact us at eurisy@eurisy.eu, and we will gladly answer to your questions. Moving forward with the agenda, I would like to pass the floor again to Jenny for presentation of mentors and logistics. Jenny, if you can say a few words about this. Yes.
So I don't really have a slide for this, but I just wanted to say, in terms of logistics, there will be several mentors or facilitators during the hackathon that are going to be walking around and helping all of the teams to help them to understand the data or access it, or if they have any questions about it, to answer them. Those will be members from Wageningen Environmental Research, Wageningen Marine Research, NSO, and Deltaris as well. So we have Stan and Jan Tjalling and Will Heinen. They will be available for you, as well as Jappe, Jongejan, and Gwen, I think, from Deltaris. I will double check that, but we had one last minute change from the facilitators in Deltaris, but they will be available for you on both of the days. And beyond that, there will be lunch and dinner and coffee and tea served at the location, as well as for the people that have accommodations, that will also be at the venue in Ada at the Acousticum. So everything will be there. And around 3 o'clock on the second day will be the presentations, or 3:30 will be the presentations of the pitches and the products that you've come up with. And after that, we'll have a cultural relaxing sort of activity just before the judges present the results of the hackathon, and then we have a bowl on the second day. So hopefully that will all become more clear, and yeah, will be all laid out in an agenda at the hackathon day. But of course, there will be chance for asking any questions at the end of this about the event itself. So that's all I had to say, really, about the event and the coordination. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. We will also shortly publish the agenda of the event on the website, so you can access this at any time and have more coordinated vision of what is going to happen during the days of the hackathon. And we will also follow up with an email on logistics and accommodation, so we'll all be set for this challenge. And now I would like to move further with the section of access to data. So I would like to ask Jappe to say a few words how the access to data is going to be organized. If you can please unmute your mic.
Yes, I think I should be unmuted right now.
Jappe, yes, thank you. We can hear you. Jappe is from Netherlands Space Office, and he's going to present you the access to data section, satellite data. Jappe is an advisor to satellite applications and at the NSO.
Yes, can I start?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so as mentioned, I and together with co-consultants, we represent the Netherlands Space Office here. We are also the contact points if you have any questions regarding access to data. Well, first of all, I would like to say a few words about NSO itself. So yeah, NSO is the Dutch space agency, and we advise and execute the national space policy. And we do this in order to make sure that the Netherlands benefits from space. Yeah, our vision, well, we think the usefulness of space travel starts with its use. And we really want to make sure that it benefits the economy, society, and science in the Netherlands. So yeah, the mission really of NSO is to maximize the value of space in the Netherlands and also to display this. Then I'll give you some words about how to access the satellite data. First of all, one of the activities from the Netherlands Space Office is the Satellite Data Portal, which you can find on the website over here. I hope you can see my indicator. Well, the Satellite Data Portal provides free high-resolution satellite data of the Netherlands. Unfortunately, there's a geo-block on it, so if you're currently abroad, well, then you cannot access it at the moment, but in the Netherlands you can. So what does it provide? It provides optical data, so 6 times a year at a resolution of 30 centimeters. The whole country is being imaged. And this is done by the Pleiades NEO and SuperView NEO satellites. But it also, the optical data is accessible in the viewer. The radar data is not, but the radar data you can download. It's provided 15 times a year at a resolution of 5 meters, and it's being gathered by the RADARSAT-2 satellite. So yeah, there's both optical, near-infrared, and radar data available. And we will provide you some data from the portal for the hackathon. But you can also try it yourself if you need more data. But you do need an account to download the data. So if you want to do this during the hackathon, I would suggest making an account prior to the hackathon. Yeah, so the Satellite Data Portal has existed since 2012. So there's actually a pretty large database now. In the past, there was a lower resolution, and since this year, we have up to 30 centimeters in the optical data. But you can access all of this also, for example, for creating timelines in your biodiversity analysis. Just to show you what 30 centimeter images look like. Well, here you can see part of Flevoland. And you can even distinguish the different rows of tulips that are being planted there. And yeah, so you can see it's really high resolution, detailed images that you can use. Here's another example of the 30 centimeters image that is being imaged by the Pleiades satellite. On the left, you can see a true color image, and on the right, you can see a false color image. So there, the infrared is also being displayed. And it's a really good indicator for vegetation, for example. So yeah, you can use that also during the hackathon. Use it, I would say. So yeah, besides the satellite data portal provided by NSO, there's also the European Sentinel satellites, part of the Copernicus program. It's also free and open data, and you should also make an account for that if you want to use it. But you can access it on the websites below. I would like to highlight the Sentinel-1 data. It's useful for both land and marine and provides radar data. Also Sentinel-2, which is a multispectral imager, and it's especially useful for land applications. And also Sentinel-3, which is a hyperspectral satellite, and it's especially useful for marine applications. All of this data is accessible, for example, on the website that is displayed here, the dataspace.copernicus.eu. And as you can see on the left, it provides more than just the images. It provides the true color and the false color, but also the pre-calculated NDVI, which is a green index, a moisture index, and many more. You can very easily download it, and it's already computed for you. So I showed you the images from the satellite data portal and from the European ones. Well, both have their benefits. As you can see on the left, it's at 30 centimeters. It's more detailed than the one on the right, which is the Sentinel-2 image with a 10-meter resolution. However, the very high resolution detailed images with 30 centimeters are only gathered 6 times a year. And the 10-meter resolution by Sentinel-2, well, it's basically imaged every 5 days. So there's many more of these images, which is especially useful for time series. Also, the Sentinel-2 has 13 bands instead of the Pleiades, which has 6 bands. So there's also more spectral information in the in the Sentinel images. Then I would like to show you some examples of the biodiversity projects that have been performed with the use of satellite data. Here, for example, you see a project that distinguishes the intensively used or extensively used grasslands with the use of radar data. Well, it's actually very successful. Another project was about marshy grasslands. Some birds benefit from grasslands being inundated. And well, again, with radar data, you can very well distinguish inundated grasslands or dry grasslands. Here, for example, in the images, you can see that some of the land is at some points in the year it's dry and at some points it's wet, where the blue indicates the wet and the red indicates the dry. And the last project that I want to show you is about small woody features, which can also benefit biodiversity. Well, with these trees or rows of trees or other woody features, these can be mapped very well with the high resolution images. And yeah, in this way, for example, the subsidies can be checked by the government. So about the hackathon, what we will provide. We will provide some optical data from the satellite portal. I think both 30 centimeters and 50 centimeters from the past, but it won't be huge amount of data. So if you want to use more, I would suggest to make an account and to be able to download it yourself. Also, the downloading takes some time if you make a reservation. So I would suggest doing it prior to the event. And we will provide some of the Sentinel-2 data. Well, there's a huge amount of data since 2016. Every 5 days, there's a recording. So we're not gonna provide all of that, but you can access it yourself, but we will provide some of it. Of course, for the areas of interest. Well, thank you for your attention now, and I would say good luck. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me or my colleague Coco. Yeah, and I'm really happy. I look forward to seeing you all during the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Jappe. We already have some question from Martin Meyer. We are going to take this during the questions and answers session. And thank you very much for your insightful presentations and all the details that you provided on the portals. And we invite the participants to register to these portals beforehand. And now we are moving forward to the structure of the data repository. And I invite Stan Loss from the Wageningen Environmental Research to say a few words on this part of the access to data.
Yes.
Stan, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I will share my screen as well to show the data structure we have for the hackathon. Let's see which screen it is. I think it is this one. All right, I hope you can see my screen now. So we provide a Microsoft Teams where we stored all the data, where we also stored an overview of the data, which I will go on in a few minutes. We give you access to these Teams, so you can access all the data we made available. Some data is still open for download because those are sometimes quite big files to download and put online. But most of the data is in here, and I will show the structure we have at hand. We basically have a few maps, folder structure, where the README is the most important file, because in the README file there is an overview of the data as well for the marine and the terrestrial data. And in general, we also have general data like the case study areas, the outline of the files. And for the rest, all the data is in the marine and the terrestrial data folders. But to know where to find the data, we can go to the terrestrial data overview. So I will show you how that looks like. It's an Excel file, so this is both for the marine and the terrestrial data. And in that Excel file, all the data sets which are made available, or for a few are open for download, which can be seen in the data link, are stored here. There's the name of the map, the file name, which is in the folders, the area, category, resolution, if it's accessible, the date from which the files are. Something still needs to be updated, so that will be ready before the hackathon. But it's just to give you an idea which kind of information you can find. And if we look at this, these are already 72 data sets which will be made available. For the marine data, Tjalling will talk you through some of the data sets in a minute, but it looks the same. Same kind of overview as this one for both the Wadden Sea case study area and the North Sea case study area. Yeah, for the rest, I can show a few examples for the case study area. So some data sets which are made available, which are in the list of the Excel file, are shown here for the Veluwe area. If you're familiar, this is the part of the Veluwe. And these are maps, for example, the emissions in both agriculture or all sectors. And that goes on for, like recreation pressure, deposition of nitrogen, etc. Restaurants in close by, grass and artificial areas, wind turbines, population density, etc. So all those data is fine in here as well in the Excel. So make sure that if you have access to the teams and you go to the general data map in the files, so this is in Dutch, but normally it says files, you can see everything in the read. And for example, if you then go to the terrestrial data map, you have all the folders. So for example, biodiversity data, forest data, height data, land characteristics, land use, other, and pressures. So for example, in the biodiversity data, you have the NDFF, that's the National Database for Flora and Fauna, which observations, invasive species, vegetation databases, etc. I cannot go through all of them because it will take a while. And for example, land use, there are a lot of maps with all kind of maps for land use and land use change. Basically all for the Netherlands and some already for the case study. So that's about that. And for also the last one, the pressures, which I also shown in the Word document, are, for example, pressures on agriculture, forest, human activities and pollutions. And for human activities, there's also tourism and recreation, and then some other human activities such as wind turbines. Yeah. So this is basically the structure at hand. I think maybe it's the best that Tjalling can show something for the data on the marine. And I will stop sharing. Is that okay, Tjalling, that you continue with marine data and the presentation you made for that?
Yeah, now I should start sharing. Share. No. Yes. So the Molas Hackathon, there are 2 marine case studies, the Wageningen and the North Sea. And from Wageningen Marine Research, we have prepared some data, which is in this pretty much the same type of Excel sheet as Stan has just shown, and also in a very similar data structure. So we have the Wageningen case study area, which is mostly on the Molas Hackathon SharePoint site already shown. In general README metadata, there is a marine data overview Excel sheet. And if you select area is Wageningen or both, you'll find the data that's mostly applicable to the Wageningen. By the way, some of the terrestrial data on, for instance, global emissions of nitrogen and others might also be applied to the marine case studies. If there are data files, they will be in general marine data, for instance, geopackages with geographical data, mapped data that you could use, or in many cases, there are web feature service links that point to external data sets that are readily available on the internet. Then this is pretty much the Wageningen area, what we are looking at. It's the, in this case, it's showing the PKB, the planologisch kernbesluit. So it's an administrative boundary. The Natura 2000 boundaries are pretty much the same. Kinds of data that we have are, for instance, the ecotopes. Ecotopes bundle information that is ecologically relevant to many species using the Waddenzee. Much of this information has to do with emergence time or droogvalduur and dynamics, mainly the strength of the tidal currents. And this is shown in yellows and browns. Areas that do not emerge are in blues. they stay submerged, and greens are, for instance, mostly the salt marshes that only flood occasionally during spring tides, or even only spring tides combined with stormy weather. Then the second case study is about the North Sea, which is follows a similar structure, just select North Sea instead of Orient Sea. Then more of same. This is the North Sea study area. Well, there's a few bits lopped off. It's an awkward shape for a screen. It's the Dutch exclusive economic zone, or het Nederlands continentaal plat, abbreviated as NCP, that we are focusing on. Many data sets that we are proposing that could be used can be sourced from EMODnet. You can select the web feature service there and easily get access. And on this rather messy screenshot from EMODnet, you can make out some wind farms. Is my pointer visible to you guys? Yeah.
Yes.
So here we have some wind farms in the UK. We see shipping lanes and the density of the shipping that goes through there. We have power and telecommunication cables going across or connecting wind farms to land. And then underneath the blues and reds are seabed habitats, which is a lot like the ecotopes that were earlier presented for the Wadden Sea. Then something that we also have for the North Sea, not for the Wadden Sea, is seabird density maps sourced from the fourth round of the Kader Ecologie en Cumulatie projects that Wageningen Marine has been doing for Rijkswaterstaat. It covers the international North Sea. It has data on about 25 species of seabirds like gulls, terns, gannets, auks, some ducks. In this case, you're seeing Fulmarus glacialis, or the northern fulmar. Data for the 5th bi-monthly period that is available, which is April and May, and the coloring blue is a low density, yellows to reds are high density areas where this bird has been observed by either ship-based or airplane-based observers during for data based on data that's been gathered since about 1990. If you don't want to bother with all those birds specifically, we also have a wind turbine sensitivity index, which combines all those seabirds, all those 25 species, into one single map where you can see where there's high concern about wind turbines or offshore wind and renewable energy, maybe conflicting with birds. And then, so for the Molars Hackathon, the marine case studies, check out the metadata spreadsheet. There's data available for physical characteristics, human activities, and presence or densities of some species. And we're also working on making a set of fish data sets available. That's currently ongoing, so I can't show anything of that yet. I can't also not specify yet which species there will be. Then returning to the framework and linking to what Jenny has been presenting, the framework that we're using is, this multi-step slide. we're working with along the lines of the DIPSER, Driver Pressure State Impact Response framework. So from a sector or an activity, it generates a pressure. The pressure has an impact on an ecological component that's going from top to bottom on the left, or it's going from left to right in the diagram on the right. The diagram on the right shows you sectors, in this case just two, fisheries and renewables, but you could add more. It also may bring about, oh, somebody's in the way, a need, if you add more sectors, it may also bring about the need to include other new pressures that are not yet mentioned in the middle. And then here on the right in green, there are only a few broad ecological components that have been used, but more such groups could be added or groups could be split to provide more detail. Yeah, then the frameworks, the original framework that we have been using was operated under the acronym Cumulative and dates back to about 2005. We've since done projects like ODEM and Aquacross, and now we're running with a new acronym, SCARM. And yes, that's it's not spelled like that, but it's intentionally sounds like that. Then moving on. This shows you two different results from the Nader effect analysis in Natura 2000 study. So it's an impact assessment, a cumulative impact assessment that we did around 2010. It not only included the Wadden Sea, but also the adjoining Natura 2000 area of the North Sea coastal zone. The left partial map shows results for cumulative pressures for bottom disturbing activities during the winter half year. All activities shown in the legend are included, but and the fishnet underneath shows in colors from green to red, from little to more pressure, where those pressures are. The pie charts show by their size or radius how much pressure is in a given area. These are the North Sea coastal zone, the western and the eastern Wadden Sea. So the eastern Wadden Sea is less impacted by bottom disturbance during the winter half year there. And you can also see which are the large and the smaller contributors to something. And if you move to the right, you can see that disturbance, so disturbance due to being present during the summer half year, has many more contributors and also has a different spatial pattern that you can see in the greens and reds. Then if we move over to an early result for the North Sea, this is from an OSPA BA6 study that we did. It has a lot of activities which you can read that are feeding into it. It has 9 pressures that are included. Those are the 9 small tiles surrounding it, and it all adds up to the total impact shown in the largest map. And in this case, we used a multiplicative approach, so things were multiplied by each other, so the neutral value would be 1. In many other cases, we stick with an additive approach. Then, yes, please move on. Then a final project where I want to present some results from is from the North Sea winds. For the North Sea is the Windspeed project. That was an EU-funded project that aimed to do marine spatial planning. It delivered an online decision support system which is unfortunately offline by now, but it allowed users to log on and changed a lot of settings. For instance, the importance they think should be given to particular activities in the results, and they would get the results mailed to them. And we did a scenario analysis for 4 contrasting scenarios differing in high or low priority for renewable energy generation from offshore wind, and combined that with favorable technology development being quick and low cost, or the contrary of that being a slow and high cost technology development. And then the next slide is a slideshow that was prepared for Zeeopzicht based on the Windspeed project. And now where do I need to click? Okay, it's running already. So you see different kinds of maps that have been coming by to feed into the project results, fishery effort, military use areas, shipping density, cables, pipelines, platforms, oil and gas, sand extraction for coastal defense, a Dutch thing, but also a Danish activity, offshore wind parks that were already there or under construction in purple, and now we're adding in blue some that might be there by 2030, and these are areas that are which were not too badly chosen for where towards 2030 and into deep water floating technology and further development could be going on. And then I'm reaching my final slide, so thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, there will be your chances now or a little later according to agenda. I will be one of 2 mentors that are available for the marine data during the hackathon. Dolf Beekjes will also be joining me on the day. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan Tjalling. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for all the details and the resources presented. I would like to move forward with the next agenda item, which is cumulative assessment framework. Yes, and if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. We will address them after during the questions and answer session. I would like to invite Jenny to make the presentation on the cumulative assessment framework.
Yeah, actually, I already explained about that in my first presentation. I guess I basically overstepped my my first presentation boundaries already, but anyway, okay. Basically it's very similar. What I wanted to say about that is maybe one addition to what I had already mentioned is that you saw from Jan Tjalling that the marine framework or cumulative concept is based on sectoral activities, and what we've done in the terrestrial case is actually it's based more on land use types, so I can give a little bit of a go back to my screen here. So here you have this is basically what I wanted to say about the concept that I've already mentioned before. But these are the stressor groups, and they have effects on the biodiversity. And then within a terrestrial framework, you have different types of stressors, and each of these stressors and stressor groups, they can be linked with a land use type. So you can basically combine these things based on whether they're on agricultural land or whether they're in a forest or heathland. So in that sense, the concept or the framework is slightly different in a terrestrial case than in a marine case, where they look specifically in sectors, which sectors are being used where at the sea. And I think that that's just important to understand when working with a particular case study area. So make sure that it's aligned with our sort of cumulative concept of whichever case study area you're working with. And I think in that case, it's best to talk to somebody from the marine data or the terrestrial data mentors or facilitators, which will be there during the hackathon itself. So that's all I had to say about that, really.
Thank you, Jenny. Now we can move to questions, and I believe that the first question asked by Martin Meyer in the chat has already been answered by Coco from the Netherlands Space Office. If Jappe has anything to add on this point.
Yes, I do actually. A very small thing. I'll just share my screen very briefly. I guess you can see it now. Yes. The Pleiades Neo has these 6 bands, and they are all being recorded in 120 centimeters, and only the panchromatic band is being recorded in 30 centimeters. And then in the satellite data portal, there's also, there's this raw data available, but there's also a pan sharpened image, RGB and IRG, available at 30 centimeters. So that's basically artificially the resolution is being increased. I guess that answers the question.
Thank you very much for this precision. I hope too that Martin got his answer. And if you have any other questions on this point, yes, thank you. Also, very good questions from Paula Lambretz. When the participants will be given the access to the team's data environment?
That's a really good question. I think the data will be ready for the hackathon itself, and I think in order to make it fair, that we start working with the data on the day of the hackathon. So the 23rd of October, you shall all be given access, or the day before, let's say.
Thank you.
Maybe then the Friday before?
Sure. Let's we will contact you about that, but yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we'll give we will follow up on this webinar so that you can have more extensive information about the organization and the access to data and the logistics. We are now taking the questions. If there are any other specific information you would like to know, you can unmute your mic, or you can pose your question into the chat, and so we will try to answer in the best way your question. Yes, I see the hand raised by Jens. Very. Yeah.
I have 2 questions. The first question is for Jappe. Are you guys gonna for the study areas already clip the satellite data to the study area? Because especially I think for the Waddenzee and the Noordzee, the Pleiades Neo with the blue band can be very interesting. But I tried to downloaded it a couple of weeks ago for my own research, and it was like 50 gigabytes or something like that. It's like quite an impressive data set. So to reduce the size, will you guys already like clip it with all the 6 bands and put it in the right maps?
Yes, I can definitely do that. However, I'm not going to make a full mosaic of it, because it will usually it's recorded on different dates. So That's why. But yeah, I can definitely clip it already. And in addition to that, you're talking about the North Sea, but it doesn't reach that far, the Pleiades recordings. Sentinel, of course, records there often.
Okay, thank you. And then another question for the organizers that I had. Personally, for me, it was quite difficult to comprehend on what level, or how do I need to say this? At what level I am with like remote sensing, because you asked what is your expertise, and you had the option to fill in a couple of checkboxes. And yeah, I know some programming, I know some R, I know my way around geographic information systems and predictive modeling a bit. But when it comes to what I saw on the slide, like with deep learning, neural networks, regressions, that is like, I know the terms, and I know I read some papers, but that's way above my level. So I don't know if it's out of my league or.
Yeah, I think that it's not necessarily a prerequisite or something. It's great, I think, when we start and you get to know your team on the day that you talk about what is feasible for your team. And I would go just stick with what you know, and stick with what you know best as your team, and talk to each other about what areas you're comfortable with. And I think even with what you know, there's a lot that can be done with this data, and a lot that can be improved in the data sets, and to be added to what we already know in this way. So yeah, don't try to go out of your league with things. Just stick to what you know, and to communicate with your team what's to get out the maximum of your knowledge as a team. I think try to maximize that.
Yeah, thank you.
I saw a hand raised by Jappe. Jappe, do you want to say or
I'm
add
sorry, that was a
anything?
misclick.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions you would like to ask? This is the moment. I see no hands and no questions.
I'm very much looking forward to meeting you all and seeing you on the day. So it's going to be an exciting couple days, and fun, I hope. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Thank you to everybody, to everyone who has presented during this webinar. As we have already mentioned, we will follow up with the emails on the composition of the teams and on the logistics, and give you all the necessary information in order that you could organize yourself. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us and at Eurisy at eurisy.eu. And I think with this, we are going to wrap up, and we are looking forward to meeting you in Ede on the 23rd and the 24th of October. And also we will disseminate the recording so you have the full access. Thank you very much for your participation and all your time. And we are looking forward to meeting you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.